How's it going, everybody? I am here in the New York area with Brittany Pettibone.
Hello.
So I'm sure a lot of people don't know who you are. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Brittany Pettibone. I'm generally a science fiction fantasy author, but I also do political activism. I'm right-wing on Twitter, my YouTube channel. I host a podcast, and then I make individual videos on the side sometimes.
So you don't live in the New York area?
No, I'm not in the New York area. I was on the West Coast in California, and I recently just moved. But for the next month, we're in a hotel, my family. So I decided I'd travel because it's impossible to get any work done. So I'll be here, maybe DC. We'll see what happens.
But something's happening in New York tomorrow that I want to talk to you about specifically. So do you want to just fill us in?
Sure. So what's going on is Milo Yiannopoulos and Pamela Geller are protesting Linda Sarsour, who is a feminist who is also pro-Sharia law. And Sharia law, for those who don't know, is Islamic law. So they're going to protest her. She was actually on the committee for the DC Women's March, which happened right after the inauguration, which I also attended. For those who don't know anything about Sharia law, it's basically, it encompasses a lot of things, like you get your hand cut off for stealing, genital mutilation. It's where if a woman's raped, 4 men have to witness it for it to actually have happened. You know, the husband can divorce the wife, but the wife can't divorce or he can divorce her, but she can't divorce him unless he says so. Also, he can beat her for insubordination, all sorts of things.
This sounds remarkably anti-feminist.
That's the paradox. So that's what I don't understand. There's this like weird alliance between feminism and Islam, and it's very confusing.
Well, so what makes you believe? I'm not saying it's not true, but what leads you to believe that Linda Sarsour is pro-Sharia law?
Just from her tweets. She has some tweets. This is her verified account. She says Sharia law is reasonable, and once you read into the details, it makes a lot of sense. People just know the basics. If only my fellow liberals understood what Sharia law actually is. So she comes out in her tweets very much in defense of it. And so that's kind of the crux of this protest. That's what it's about, to protest her because she claims to be feminist and yet endorses Sharia law.
So, here's the weird thing to me. For the longest time when I was growing up, the left was very, very critical of Christianity, mostly because of the stance on abortion and the stance on gay marriage. So now for me, growing up, I grew up in my mom's super liberal hippie. Growing up in this way where we were very questioning of religion. I grew up Catholic up until a certain point where my family started being more, questioning more. It's just strange to me to see now that the left is getting behind one of the Abrahamic religions, which has the same tenets, that homosexuality is a sin, that women shouldn't speak in church and things like that.
But it's even more aggressive because, like, for homosexuality, they'll actually kill you if you're gay. So, like, the Catholic Church didn't do that. It was like, they frowned upon it and everything, and it was, sure, it might have even been oppressive to an extent at some point, but they didn't kill gay people. And yeah, it's just very different. So the fact that they're behind this is pretty disturbing, and that's what we don't understand. And I haven't heard any explanation, any legitimate, very feasible, understandable explanation why. So you're Catholic. Yeah.
You're a Christian Catholic.
Indeed.
What does it mean to you? How do you feel as someone? Well, let me say this: Christianity, Islam, Judaism, they're Abrahamic religions. They have a lot in common. They are very different. But how do you feel seeing the left be very, very supportive of Islam, but very critical of Christianity?
That's what I don't understand. I don't understand it at all because, look, in my religion, it's all up to free will. So you either choose to follow or you don't, and it's up to you. No one's going to force you one way or the other. And if they are, then they're in the wrong. So I don't understand where the heavy criticism comes from the left in regards to Christianity, but it's kind of been like that for a while. I don't really personally remember a point when they were very welcoming of it. And like I said, I'm shocked that they're supporting Islam too. I don't know.
So what do you, I'm hearing it's going to rain tomorrow.
Yeah.
So it's hard to predict what's going to happen, but do you have any thoughts, any predictions?
Well, if it doesn't rain, I foresee a lot of people showing up. Perhaps more could show up because of what happened in Manchester. I don't know, just because it's kind of correlates a bit, you know. But if it rains, maybe less people will show up. But the fact that it's a Milo event, I mean, he's quite popular. I've never met him personally or even attended an event that he's been at, but the fact that he's there will probably draw a significant amount of people.
Here's what's interesting to me, right? So I've been covering protest stuff for several years now. And I want to clarify, because everyone's always like, Tim's like the protest guy. Yes, I've covered a lot of protests, but it's like conflict and crisis. People think that I show up to like every protest and like film stuff. That's not true. Yeah. I've shown up to big events like Ferguson and Occupy Wall Street, but I've also gone to like foreign countries. That being said, I have rarely seen the right actually organize protests up until recently with the Berkeley Free Speech event in Boston and now this Milo event.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You consider yourself right-wing. When was what's the first right-wing protest you've ever attended?
The first one was Berkeley on the 15th.
Well, that's my point. That's my point.
One. Yeah, so that was quite the...
Well, why do you think this is? I mean, like, you're a decently well-known voice in this community, right? You've got a decently large Twitter. I'm not saying you're like Angelina Jolie famous or anything, but people know who you are. And you did your first protest was Berkeley, which was just in the past month. Why do you think the right is now organizing protests, coming out in the streets?
Well, I think the right has been silent for so long and just complacent, kind of. They never made any kind of move for so long. They just sat but like during the election, Donald Trump, that election, it did something to the right. It kind of like set them off. So many people got up and started attending rallies. Those rallies were insane. Thousands of people attended. And I think it just started set something in motion, this like domino effect that is now continuing on. So people are also seeing the need, though, when groups like Antifa and BAM started taking to the streets, the right is very reactive to the left, and that's just honest. They're not usually the ones to be out on offense. They will react defensively. So they kind of followed. It was...
But even with like the Black Bloc stuff, Antifa, you know, I don't want to say Antifa specifically, but a lot of these people are anarchists, communists, socialists, and they do the Black Bloc thing. We've seen that for years.
Yeah.
And the right hasn't come out and reacted in this way. But something interesting happened with Trump where we started seeing, I don't know if it was because Trump supporters were being attacked. And, you know, to be fair, there were some instances where Trump supporters attacked other people, but in my experience, it was usually Trump supporters being attacked. So yeah. I'm wondering if maybe that catalyzed the right to come out and say enough is enough. And the reason I think this is base stickman, right? Kyle Chapman shows up to Berkeley with armor on, and that was a reaction to Antifa. I'm wondering if this, because the left has targeted, you know, the right as individuals, as civilians, as citizens. I mean, do you think that's...
Yeah, well, I very much see this movement now shifting from online and into real life, actually taking to the streets, not just... Although online is still very important and effective, it's just not going to be enough anymore. It's not going to cut it only being online, and people are realizing that, and that's why more people are starting to show up to things and actually make that effort. Personally, I think it's great also, not just the fact that you're showing up and, you know, protesting or... you know, trying to defend free speech, etc. I think it's important because also you can form relationships and make connections and form networks with people that you couldn't otherwise do online or in the same way.
This will be interesting, right? So tomorrow at noon, I'm going to go out. It might be raining, so I don't know, but Milo Yiannopoulos, Pamela Geller, they're going to be protesting Linda Sarsour, and I imagine you're going to be there. Right?
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll probably live stream or something.
Are you going to be there in support of the protest?
Oh, sure. I'm in support of the protest just because I think that's absolutely ludicrous that you can be a feminist and yet pro-Sharia. And why are you advocating for Sharia law in America, in the U.S.? Why?
You know, people are going to vote for what they believe in, regardless, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's true, but it doesn't have a place here. I'm sorry.
All right. Well, stay tuned. Tomorrow I will be out around noon, and depending on what happens, I'll live stream. It may be raining, so who knows? Brittany will be there. It'll be in that great city right there. So make sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcast. Click the like button if you like these videos. Comment below. Let me know what you think. You have a YouTube and a Twitter do you want to mention?
Yeah, my YouTube is Brittany Pettibone and my Twitter is @BrittPettibone with 2 T's.
Right on. All right. So subscribe for new videos every day at 6 p.m. and I'll see you tomorrow.